Do not touch that dial.
Stay ahead of the curve and get updates on the latest trends in politics, government, policies, education, economy, social development, amongst others.
We are happy to announce today that both the federal government and the organized labor have agreed on an increase on the 62,000 naira minimum wage.
Join
Ayodeji Ajishope
and
Adedamola Lafenwa
on from the dailies every weekday from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. on Solutions 93.9 FM as they dive into the headlines with in-depth analysis and feedback from you on different stories from the national dailies. Start your day by gaining fresh perspectives, uncovering the story behind the story, and join the conversation. Because your voice matters. From the dailies, the conversation never stops.
All right, it's another beautiful Wednesday morning in the big and beautiful city of Ibadan. My name is Adedamola Lafenwa. It's time to listen to From the Dailies, the one I like to call the midweek edition of the program, where we get to take you through the trending stories in today's national dailies. And I have Comrade Ayodeji Ajishope with me this morning as usual. Good morning to you, Comrade Ayodeji Ajishope.
Good morning to you, Maria Comrade brother.
Now, I tell you, there are quite a number of interesting stories on the pages of the papers this morning, and one of the outstanding one is the refinery, Port Harcourt refinery, coming to full operation, which I feel it's a good news. When I saw the news yesterday, I mean, you sent me a particular story concerning that yesterday, and it gladdened my heart to an extent that, okay, at least probably we are getting there gradually. I mean, judging by the number of dates, the deadlines. Seven times. Yeah, and I like the way the Guardian reported it. The Guardian gave us the breakdown of all the previous dates that we've had concerning the Port Harcourt refinery, which has now become fully operational. And another interesting story is the White Lion. I mean, the White Lion is finally in the custody
himself
to the law yesterday. Now let's look at the pages, the front pages of the papers we have this morning. Looking at the Nigerian Tribune, Yahya Bello, now in EFCC custody, may appear in court today. Page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune has that story. Nigeria loses $1.1 billion annually to malaria crisis. And still looking at the front page of Nigerian Tribune, second year in office, Obasanjo commissions roads in Osun, comments Adeleke. CBN raises interest rate to 25.50%. Revalue the naira, not MPC rate increase. Experts, page 12 has that story. And to the biggest story on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning, with Port Harcourt refinery's revival, Tinubu set Warri Kaduna plant's target for NNPC. And riders under that, Tinubu commends Buhari, Kyari, African Export-Import Bank. NNPC begins truck-out operations of petrol, diesel, kerosene to Nigerian market. All marketers, industry experts laud NNPC over delivery of Port Harcourt refinery. I tell you, it's a thing of joy, actually. I mean, for the first time in a long time, NNPC is getting...
since 2015.
NNPC is getting thumbs up from Nigerians. Now, talking
I'm
about
not giving NNPC any thumbs up.
well, some Nigerians then. I mean, if
Maybe I will give Porako Refinery thumbs up. NNPC,
who made it? Who made Port Harcourt Refinery operational?
well, the Porako Refinery is an independent company.
It's an
on its
independent
own.
company.
It's a
Okay.
when you take a look at the whole configuration of NNPC,
Okay, we'll go to that. We'll get there. And yesterday we talked about the NBS, the National Bureau of Statistics report, the controversial report released yesterday, saying that GDP has grown to 3.46%, and there is a decline in the rate of unemployment. But there's a reaction to that. NBS from the concerned stakeholders, the people that know what the true figure,
yeah, the shoe pinches.
where the shoe pinches. Now let's take a listen. NBS report on 3.4% GDP growth, decline in unemployment, not true reflection of current realities. Naxima insists
And Nasima should know.
that is why he who wears the shoe knows where it pinches. Naxima is saying MBS is just sitting in one office gathering data, but these are the people, these are the key players in that industry. So it's not left to Nigerians who they want to believe.
I don't know. Some of those things you just wonder. Just wonder.
All right, away from the Nigerian Tribune, let's take a look at the Vanguard newspaper now. CBN raises interest rate to 27.5%. And another one, the biggest story on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Local fuel capacity now 860,000 barrels per day as Port Harcourt refinery rebounds. I like the way it has been put here. Marketers await product prices from NNPCL.
That may not be true anyway. 650 Dangote is not even doing 650. I'm not sure Dangote is even doing 500. The refinery in Port Harcourt that got off the ground officially yesterday is the old refinery owned by SPDC, that's Shell Petroleum Development Company, 60,000, and it's not even doing 100%, it's doing 70. So if it's doing 70 of 60, and Dangote is doing about 70 of 650, even if you have the 650 plus 60,
We are still not there.
we are still not at 860.
Okay, but probably we'll get there.
Maybe they are already adding the 120, the other one. They say that
to
one
wait.
is, the work is going on rapidly on it.
Okay, now let's quickly go through the stories now. Okay, the riders reactivate Warri Kaduna refineries. Tinubu tells NNPCL. Nigerians expect to reap benefits. Nupeng refinery succor to economy. Petroan. Nigerians deserve transparency. Labour Party. And still looking at the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, let's join hands to make Nigeria a producing nation. Tinubu, page 13, has that story. GDP, jobs growth at variance with reality.
That's another stakeholder.
And,
Stakeholders.
Two
there.
stakeholders there.
You can add Nasima to it.
And NECA, this is coming from NECA and CUPP. Okay.
Employers Consultative Association, NECA.
And the last one I'll be taking on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper now. Prices of local rice, beans, bread, eggs soar in October. NBS. Well, I can say that one is true. That is coming from NBS too, but I
Yes.
can say that one is true.
It is. I mean, the price of bread, but the bread we used to buy at 1,500 moved to 1,800.
An egg is now sold for about 250, 300 naira now.
Yeah.
And I remember not so long ago when an egg used to be like about 30 naira, 25
My wife
naira,
sold egg.
depending on the
until-
size.
Yeah, until about 2019 or thereabout, on a daily basis, hundreds of crates, and I think it was around maybe 600 now.
Looking at the Punch newspaper now, interest rate hike, Labour, OPS project higher inflation, weaker naira. Page 19 of the Punch has that story. Alleged 110 billion naira fraud. Bello due in court today as ex-governor reports to EFCC. Rider, ex-Kogi governor detained by anti-graft agency, faces 16 counts. PDP neck pro-Wike governor set for showdown over Damagum.
The battle for the soul of PDP.
I'm telling you, it's getting tougher on a daily basis. Port Harcourt refinery, 200 trucks load daily, 150,000 barrels per day. Eleme plant dormant.
That's even a petrol refining and petrochemical plant.
Okay, 4,449 policemen sue IG over delayed promotion. Interesting. Hunted and executed. Suspended Sanwo-Olu aides. Comment stir probe call. And the last one I'll be taking: unpaid pensions. Retirees set to occupy Finance Ministry. That story is found on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. And to one newspaper I love their reportage, that is the Guardian newspaper. I mean, the way Guardian puts it, cautious optimism over cheaper fuel as Port Harcourt refinery creates rivalry. And it's found on page 6, and there is a breakdown of the Port Harcourt refinery timeline. The previous timeline starting from 2015, we had one in 2017, another one came out in 2019, another one in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, now 2024. It has come to reality. Okay, we'll look into that in the course of the program too. EFCC Bellows men differ as anti-graft agency detains ex-governor. Edo urges states to monetize assets to drive investment revenue. Tinubu departs Abuja on state visit to France. Yeah, Tinubu departs Abuja on state visit to France. I mean, is it? You saw it. Okay, I'll read it. I'm still coming to that place. Amid soaring food prices, Aiyedatiwa backs Tinubu's economic policies. Private sector groans as CBN raises interest rates to 27.5%. Banks lose 53.4 billion naira to fraud in 9 months as a tax rise by 65%. And that story that caught your attention on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Some people want me to die, says Obasanjo, page 7, as that story. I mean, who are the people that want Baba to die? Okay.
He just says whatever he wants to say. He doesn't care whose ox is good. And
Baba is talking more. Gone are the days when Baba used to write letters, but he's doing more of the talking now.
I think a letter will follow.
Okay.
Follow very soon. Yes. A letter is likely to follow very soon.
All right, it's 9:45 on Solutions 93.9 FM. It's from the dailies. I told you there are quite a number of stories on the pages of papers this morning. So which of them should we start with? Probably we should start with the MPS. MPS, yeah. What did they call it now? CBN raising the interest rates to 27.5%. And according to them, to cushion or to how did they even put that in English? To stem the inflation. I mean, this is about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th or 6th time in 2024 alone that MPS is gearing up the interest rates. Now, looking at the ripple effect it will have on the private sector, because the private sector is already groaning with this.
I think I recall that you know, especially during the Emefiele era, people started questioning. That's how they were increasing too, not this frequently anyway. And then the last resort was to redesign the naira. Believe you me, lofty ideal. You know, get money back into banking vaults and circulation, which makes it trackable. But that lofty ideal and idea was deployed for ends other than economic. That Naira redesign eventually was deployed as a political tool to deal with
some set of politicians.
Some politicians. Well, you see, inflation. economists tell us that there are types of inflation. There is a cost-driven inflation, and there is a what's the other one? The demand-driven inflation. They say the demand-driven inflation is when there's so much liquidity. You understand? When people are so liquid that everybody's just buying this. Okay, give me two, give me four, give me five, and then, of course, the prices, of course, demand and supply, prices will go up. Then there's a cost-driven. That is the cost of getting the goods and services. You know, cost of getting my goods through the retail end, cost of delivering my services. When the cost of delivering services and goods is high, of course, prices will go up. So, and they say our own inflation is not demand driven because whatever money is in circulation in large numbers is not in the hand of the majority. It is in the hand of a tiny minority. And of course, a tiny minority cannot buy many. You understand? It is only a large number of people that can buy, large, So they say our own is not demand driven. It is cost driven. And the cost of money, the cost of fund that is deployed in doing business is a key determinant of the cost of the end product. If I'm a manufacturer, for instance, of course I cannot have all the liquidity I need. I go to my bank short term, they know my turnover is there to show me up and back me up. They give me facility. And the cost at which I access those funds, maybe on the 1 month, maybe 90 days,
Yes.
it will be a critical factor in determining the cost of my service or goods.
Definitely.
So, if I get my financing, I go and buy diesel. Diesel itself is not cheap. I go and buy PMS. PMS itself is not cheap. It moved from 200 within the space of 1 year and a half to 1,000. I mean, that's 500%. There's no way all of that will not affect costs.
And you still have an interest rate to pay on
You
that.
have and the money I'm
facility.
using to purchase all these things, I borrow them.
Yeah, that's the problem here.
The money I'm using to buy
That is a problem.
costly inputs,
Which you're going to pay more.
I borrow at high cost, and I get my inputs at high
At
cost.
high cost too.
So what happens to the end product? So that is why they say it is cost driven. Our own is cost driven and not demand driven. And yet, you are still jacking up the cost of accessing.
Do we now say that the people in charge of managing this economy are not getting it right? Because I mean, if they are doing the same thing, you can't keep on doing the same thing the same way and expecting a different result. This is about the 5th time in 2024 alone where the interest rate is being hiked, and even the organized labor and the organized private sector is saying that with this new increment in the interest rate, they are projecting higher inflation. If the CBN is saying that the interest rate is being hiked to stem inflation, I mean, it has not worked for the past 4-5 attempts rather. So why are they still doing the same thing?
Well, to a large extent, it has resulted in slowing things down. You understand?
Slowing things down.
It
In
has
what
slowed
way?
Except for a few situations, people are doing things according to their resources now. People are living smart now, generally. But where is it impacting largely?
That is the problem.
It is impacting largely on the general populace. Yes, it has. Look at PMS, for instance. All those who drive big SUVs and trucks, everybody has slowed down. And the turnover, but that one too is affecting the general economy. So when they said the economy grew at such a turnover of those filling stations now, turnover of industries, manufacturers, They are holding stock.
Even the
is-
filling stations were at the point we said it on this platform that the filling stations were complaining that the number of people, the quantity of petrol being purchased
Bought.
by Nigerians has drastically reduced.
Yes. And they live on, businesses live on turnover.
And these people still go to the banks to obtain this loan that they have to pay more in the form of interest rate.
I remember when I was working.
And they are not making sales.
They're not making very limited sales. And their cost is still going up.
Still going up.
Overhead going up.
So how do we stem inflation with this?
They say we're going to see the result by first quarter of 2020.
What are the results of the past 4-5 attempts?
And NECA, Nasima, everybody on the field. On the field.
One of the experts, an expert said that they should revalue the Naira and not the MPC rate increase.
Even IMF said the Naira is one of the worst performing currencies on the continent. That thing now was it was devaluation. You understand? Closing, unifying the windows of exchange was devaluation from 400 to 1,700, 4 times 4, 16, 400% devaluation of the Naira.
Now, I want us to join the NBA statistics and data and the CBN together now because we are talking about the economy right now. Now, what is it that the CBN is seeing in this policy, this MPS increment every time that is yielding positive results to them, but not to Nigerians that they are seeing? What has NBS seen to say that there is a 3.46% growth in the GDP and saying that, that there has been a decline in the rate of unemployment when the real key players, Naxima, NECA, CUPP, are saying no?
The parameters, what parameters does MBS use now? They changed the parameters about a year and a half or so, or 2 years. Even it was during the Buhari era.
So what parameters do they use to gather these data?
They say if you're unemployed 1 day in 7, 1 day in a week, 1 day in 7 days, you're employed.
So if I'm employed 1 day out in a week, out of 7 days that make a week,
that is what
that
they
makes
say.
that makes me employed.
That is what they say, and they say that is what those are the ILO standards. They brought our unemployment rate from 34 or so 34%. They brought it down to say 7%, and they say it's not 4% or so. That's what they're saying, and I don't understand though. They are operating as if they are not dealing with human beings.
When the reality on ground says that companies are folding up, people are being laid off
people have, even people,
on a daily basis.
a niece of mine was telling me about 3 months ago, he said, Uncle, by December, a number of people will stop going to work. She lives in Lagos. That because their income will not be enough to transport them back and forth to work.
That's another angle. Some people are not even waiting to be laid off. People just feel that there's no need coming to this work. I mean, the cost of bringing myself to work is even far more than what I'm earning on that job.
And
So I'd
they
rather stay jobless than coming to work and not taking anything home in my take-home
In
pay.
Lagos now, in certain sectors of the economy, I know people who don't go home, couldn't go home 2, 3, 4 nights in a week. And I know people who go home only weekends. Because they cannot afford to rent apartments anywhere near their places of work, and the cost of commuting is not just sustainable.
And the NBS said that the rate of unemployment has declined and there's a GDP growth.
I do not know where they're getting their figures from.
And the
And the
CBN
operators of the economy are saying
and the
that
CBN
cannot
says
be
that,
true.
and the CBN saying that okay, their policies are
Are working. They
Are
say we
working.
will see the result by the first quarter. That's what Kadu said. I read it somewhere yesterday. Or is it this morning?
we will see the result.
We will see the result. But what kind of result?
I was going to say because the result could be negative, it could be positive.
What kind of result?
Okay, it's 5 minutes to 10 on Solutions 93.9 FM. It's still from the dailies, and we're looking at different stories in the papers this morning. Let's move away from the economy. Let's talk about the rejuvenated or the newly revived Port Harcourt refinery. I mean, so do Nigerians, do we say that, okay, this is a good news and hope that very soon, maybe by December, January, there could be a drastic reduction in the pump price of petrol.
A drastic, maybe not.
Maybe not.
No, drastic. When you're saying drastic,
When I mean drastic, maybe I'm just thinking maybe,
500?
well, let's just say 200.
Okay.
200.
I
That would be a huge relief for Nigerians.
I see the possibility. By
Okay.
the time, especially when Port Harcourt, main Port Harcourt, this is with the one they call Area 5, the old refinery, 60,000 barrels. When the Easy 150 or 165,000 barrels that was built in 1980, when that one takes off, we're told that it is almost to a large extent, you know, they are calling some angry call retired staff of NNPC, you know, who are familiar with. So I expect that a price war will ensue.
Okay, because I was going to say that because according to the way the Guardian puts it, there's going to be a kind of a rivalry between Port Harcourt Refinery and Dangote Refinery.
You see, ordinarily, NNPC has a huge advantage over Dangote. And the huge advantage they have is in the area of product distribution. NNPC has a 5,000 kilometer network of pipelines that will carry crude to Kaduna and then to distribute products. Port Harcourt has a jetty, solid jetty. Warri, the refinery and petrochemical, has its own jetty. And then they have the one they call Escavo. No, Escavo. This one is right where they distribute from. But our expert will be telling us details of that. They distribute to Mosimi, they distribute to Ejibo, they distribute to Ejibo, Mosimi, and Ibadan. Right from there, Atlas Cove, that is what it is called, you understand? Atlas Cove Jetty. They offload there, they distribute, and they pump. So everybody doesn't have to come to Lagos. Everybody doesn't have to get on this Lagos-Ibadan expressway and damage it. You understand? So they have this huge advantage of infrastructure over Dangote. You understand? But Dangote is not, he knows that he cannot compete with NNPC on Nigerian soil because of that infrastructure advantage NNPC has. So he had always targeted the foreign market.
Now, another thing is, I was engaging in a kind of conversation with a group of Nigerians last night, and talking about this revival of the Port Harcourt refinery. And there were speculations raised that probably this PH refinery was deliberately brought up now to serve as a kind of a rival to Dangote refinery by some big names,
Well, you know, there
by
was
some key
conflict.
players.
You see,
That Dangote refinery cannot be the beautiful bride now, as he's trying to
look,
be.
This is business. This is business. You do your business, I do my own business. 200 million plus people. And then the whole of West Africa and Central Africa is the market for all of this. So what rivalry? That's not right. There shouldn't be any rivalry. But NNPC have been playing a very curious role. They've been importing since 2015 when that Port Harcourt refinery was shut down. And I was told by those who know that it was still operational when it was shut down. And then they started taking our crude, the domestic crude allocation outside and all of that. So there shouldn't be any rivalry. NNPC has advantage. Of course, when NNPC now started doing player and umpire
At the same
we are
time.
going to be the off-taker. You know, people are curious. What kind of business you see? It is NNPC Limited. Then you are trying to sell other. You are not selling your own. You are not even producing. You are not. We would not want to be so distributor of
Of another
one.
person's
You know,
product.
the whole thing became Oh, can you hear what kind of game is NNPC
PC playing?
Or what kind of business are they doing? So Dangote will just be saying, he's doing deals with Ghana, doing deals with other companies. All those ones buy from Europe. The first thing is that the cost of transport will be reduced, and it's a critical element, and it will affect positively. You understand?
All right.
So,
Okay, let's go on this commercial break. We'll be right back.
and then of course we have an expert, a man
Definitely.
with 27 years experience in refining, and of course a chemical analyst, what did they call him? He did chemistry, analytical chemistry.
Analytical chemistry, okay.
Worked in a refinery, Port Harcourt axis for 27 years. He will
Definitely.
be giving us insight into all of this from Port Harcourt.
In a short while.
There is a place full of comfort, so beautiful with serene environment, good ambience for relaxation, complimentary breakfast, free internet service, and 24 hours electricity supply with maximum security guaranteed. No doubt about it. This is heaven on earth. This is Channel 8. Visit us at number 9 Babijo Street off Laduke at Kintola Street, Ikolaba, Bodija, Ibadan, or your state. Telephone 0909 5180 592 or 0802 3099 414. Email info@channel8.com.ng. Website www.channel8.com.ng. Channel 8 Premium Hotel. Hospitality redefined.
Right, it's 4 minutes past 10 on Solutions 93.9 FM, still from the dailies, and we were discussing the rejuvenated Port Harcourt refinery, and before we went on that short break, and like Comrade Ayodeji Ajishokwe said earlier on before we went on that break, that we will be bringing in an expert in that particular field to shed more light on this particular issue. So we have okay.
We do have live with us, joining us virtually, Mr. Idowul Lawson, an industry expert with close to 30 years experience in the industry, and of course having worked at management level, even at that Port Harcourt refinery. We have him live with us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my brother. And although your line is breaking, but at least I can hear you. But
okay,
I'm glad to be here.
All right.
Yes, thank you for joining us this morning, and of course, sharing with us the depth and the value of your experience in the industry. Yesterday, it went viral that Port Harcourt refinery, the SPDC, the old 60,000 barrel, was live and ready to start loading products. How did it feel? I haven't worked in that refinery for a long, long time.
It's something, despite, I'm sure you must have read some controversies over whether it was petrol that was produced from the refinery or not, and all that. Despite all those controversies, anybody who is familiar with the history of that particular plant, that particular 60,000 barrels per day refinery plant, so that was the first plant that was built in Nigeria in 1965 by Shell, which was taken over by Nigerian government and NNPC later. that plant, like I told you, I got into management in NMP, in Port Harcourt Refinery in 2007, and I retired in 2020. In all my years in Port Harcourt Refinery, that plant did not run for up to 1 hour. So for that plant to come up now, and you see the flare up, and you see the products running, it is something that one has got to be glad about, and it is something that the management has to be commended about. I'm sure most people are fixated on petrol. Most people did not see that that plant has produced kerosene. That plant has also produced diesel. That plant has also produced some quantity of LPG, which is the cooking gas. Yeah, I know that we are fixated on petrol because that is the thing that affects us on day to day. But things like petrol, things like kerosene, diesel, LPG, and of course the straight run naphtha, which is the low run petrol too, has been produced from that plant. And I think it's something to be happy about.
All right. Now, I did ask Comrade Ayode Joshokwe earlier on that now the arrival of this Port Harcourt refinery, should Nigerians expect kind of a reduction in the pump price of petrol anytime soon, now that we have another existing, a functional refinery within the country?
I wouldn't say that. If you remember my last interview with you, I always said that the cost of petrol in the international market in any refinery is largely determined by the cost of crude. Okay. That is why you see in most foreign countries, you see the price of petrol go up, the price of petrol come down. They really have a stable price for petrol, simply because it is determined by the price of crude oil. That is what basically, that is the largest single contributor to cost when you produce petrol, the cost of crude. So, well, the government has started selling crude to Port Harcourt refinery and all the local refineries, including Dangote refinery in Naira. But it is still being sold at the exchange rate of the Naira to the dollar. Yeah. So if by the time the Naira picks up and we say, okay, let us say the Naira exchanges for the dollar at, say, 1,000 to 1,000, even 1,000 Naira, then the price of petrol will naturally drop. And of course, when the price of crude, because the price of crude is actually coming down gradually now, I say the price of crude is gradually coming down. When it comes down, in fact, that is why I pray that all these wars in Russia and everything should subside, so that all these countries can pump crude into the world international market, and then the price of crude can be stable, because at that $70, $80 a barrel, that price is quite high for people who want to refine. So if once the price of crude comes down, of course we'll notice the price of petrol drop. I saw somewhere in which Dangote says he's selling crude petrol to marketers at 970 naira a liter and all the other things. So I'm sure what he did not tell you is that it is partly due to the drop in the price of crude in the international market.
Okay.
All right. So now with Area 5, as you refer to it, operational now, even at 70%, there is a bigger refinery there. Also in Port Harcourt. And then there is the petrochemical and refinery plant at Warri. What is the current status of that? I'm asking you considering the fact that you remain an insider.
That of the, like I said, you have mentioned it, that the Port Harcourt refinery has 210,000 capacity barrel. The 60,000, yes, that's the 60,000 that has just started. The 150,000, the rehabilitation work is still going on. I confess that the state of those plants were actually very bad by the time they started the rehabilitation. And I think things have ramped up a bit now. Okay. For me, for people who are quite familiar with refining operations, I don't like giving, this is the time we will finish.
No, I'm not asking time.
I know. Why I'm saying that is that, of course, the rehabilitation work is going on. The rehabilitation work is going on in Warri too. At least NNPC, the group PAD keeps giving updates on progress of work. But you see, you will notice that the Port Harcourt refinery missed deadlines for about
7
3, 4,
times.
5, 7 times. It's not really their fault. A plant that has not run in close to 17, 20 years. It's like you park a car for 3, 4, 5 years and go back to the car. By the time you kick the car and you try to move it, then you discover that the brakes are stiff, the engine oil is this, and you discover that you need to start changing things. Even if it's a new car and you just park it for like 5 years and don't use it. By the time you come back to it, there are all these things are machines and all the other things. And also, they have even upgraded the plant so much because they have the technology keeps evolving every day. So they have upgraded the plant, and some of these things they have to test. And like I told you the last time, when you start up the CDU, you heat up the crude oil to about 300 degrees. And when you heat something up to 300 degrees and you notice a leakage and everything, you have to bring the plant down. Not only bringing the plant down, you have to allow it to cool down. It may take a day, it may take 2 days for you to be able to open up that vessel, fix the leakage, try and see that all things are okay before you start up again. It's just like when you take it to some mechanics sometimes, they will tell you, sorry, we can't work on this thing. We have to allow the engine to cool down. There is a reason why they tell you that they have to, it's not even up to, the temperature that's not even up to 100 degrees. They'll tell you, before we can open this engine or before we can touch this gear, the thing will have to be at a cold temperature. Because, because if you do and open those things up, the things will expand and you can actually damage the equipment when they are hot like that. So you have to really wait for it to cool down before you do it. And that was why they kept on missing those deadlines. And for those of us who have some contacts with them, we told them, look, don't put any pressure on yourself. Just keep going on with the commissioning process. This thing that was done yesterday is just the ceremonial commissioning. That plant has been running since last week. They did it. Yes, the plant has been running since last week. The thing that was done yesterday is just for the cameras and for everything. The plant has been running since last week.
Okay. Who are the fruitful soldiers that made this come to reality?
Well, they had to call in a lot of people, a lot of retired staff, and some foreigners and everything, because I think the thing was getting to an embarrassing situation. At least I had a colleague who was called back, and he was actually the former MD. He was my MD when I was the manager there. He was called back. I was still on phone with him last night, and we exchanged pleasantries, trying to congratulate them for anybody who knows what refining process is all about. Forget about what people write on social media. Yeah, they will tell you that it's some feats that they have performed there.
It's a feat.
I really like the way you just at least you remove the controversies or maybe negative speculation, because some Nigerians are actually thinking that probably it was sabotage or saboteurs that wouldn't allow that thing that caused the delay and everything. But in all this, before we let you off this morning,
your line is breaking.
Oh, can you hear me now? Am I clear now? Hello?
Is it better now?
Okay, a bit better now, but it's still breaking. Okay, just go ahead with
I said I really appreciate you shedding light on what caused the delay all this while, because some Nigerians were beginning to feel probably the saboteurs were preventing the refineries from working. But this last question I would like to ask you, in all this making this Port Harcourt refinery operational again, what was the role of the NNPC in all that?
Well, the Nigerian government through NNPC owns those refineries 100%.
Okay.
And if you have read, you'll see that there's the speculation that once those refineries become functional, that they are going to be privatized.
Okay.
That is the way to go. People talk about NNPC. NNPC is the typical Nigerian government company. Let us face it, how many Nigerian government companies, from NITEL to NEPA to
Don't let us mention names. We already know.
Yeah, don't let us mention names.
What does privatization mean here?
Yeah, privatization is, leave the running of those refineries to a competent company. Let them take the shareholding of 51, 52, even 60%, so that they don't have, NNPC does not have control over them, and then NNPC just receives dividend. Most people don't know that NNPC owns 49% shares in NLNG.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we don't. But they own 49% in LNG, and NLNG is one of the world-class run projects in Nigeria. And why is it a world-class run project? Because it is run by Shell and other consortium. And I've said it the other time, if you make the mistake to flip that shareholding structure and let NNPC take 51 and Shell 49, in the next, I can tell you that in the next 3-4 years, NLNG will become history. So it is better for them now that they have spent so much money on that rehabilitation to allow private hands to run those things. Yeah, it's a bit painful. Oh, it's our money that they have used to run the place. Yes, but at least it is better. Let people who will run the place, who will do their maintenance according to schedule, who will do all the things that are supposed to be done, and then of course we'll be getting some dividend from them when they run. I think it's better in my opinion.
Thank you very, very much for your incisive and illuminating interventions this morning, Egun. Thank you very much. We're grateful.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Have a fruitful day.
Yeah, bye now.
Bye.
Okay, I did enjoy that conversation with him. I mean, it was
informative.
Very, very informative. At least I learned a lot. I never knew.
That's why we're
that.
here.
That's why we're here. And I'm sure our listeners too were able to get some facts from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
The real key players in the our industry. Okay, it's still from the Daily Zone Solutions 93.9 FM. We still have some interesting stories to touch in the papers this morning. And let's take a trip to Kogi State. I mean, we spoke about the white lion who had been on the run for how many months now?
He left office May 29, 2023.
2023.
Exactly.
Wow.
No,
he didn't.
He doesn't go with the staggered election.
He's one of the staggered
it's
states.
almost a year now.
Almost a year now. At least
8 months.
Or thereabouts.
A lion for.
Okay, looking at the papers this morning, virtually all the papers have this particular story. Yaya Bello now in EFCC custody. I mean, the drama has finally come to an end. You know, there was a time...
Or the beginning of another chapter of the drama.
Oh, okay, let's say episode 1 just ended, and the beginning of another episode of drama, EFCC and Yaya Bello. I mean, talking about drama too, there's a particular story, I don't know which of the papers talked about the drama too, between the EFCC and... okay, but let me just look at that. I mean, it was reported that Yaya Bello, interestingly, drove himself in a black Hilux car to the office of the EFCC yesterday in company of his lawyers. This time around, Usman Ododo, the sitting governor of Kogi State, that has always been his cover, didn't go with him yesterday. I think that was quite commendable on the part of the White Lion to submit himself eventually. But we got a message from the spokesperson of the EFCC talking about the arrest of Yaya Bello.
The submission of by the lion.
Well, he said according to him, he said because he was being asked that was he arrested or he submitted himself.
What did he say?
He said he came in and they identified him and they arrested him. That anyone could be arrested anywhere. That arrest is arrest. Like let's take a listen at his statement.
Cited at our premises, and the chief security officer of the commission cited him and said, "Oh, this fellow has been declared wanted." He arrested him and he took him into custody. As we are talking, he's in our custody. So an arrest can happen anywhere. It can happen in a bedroom. It can happen outside the bedroom. It can happen within the premises of an institution. But what makes an arrest is the legality, is the authority you have to put a suspect in custody. We present him before the court and he will be arraigned lawfully. Normally, he will be arraigned. So the fact of being tried in absentia no longer stand. We have him in our custody. We are going to present him before the court, and he will be duly arraigned. We have so many charges that have been preferred against him, and he's going to be presented before the court.
Now, that is Dele Oyewale, the EFCC spokesperson.
Doing semantics.
I like the way you said that because I remember the interviewers were telling him, did you guys arrest him or he submitted himself? Well, said, but like we all heard, he said anybody can be arrested anywhere, whether in his bedroom. The fact is he's been arrested and he's in their custody.
In fact, that was needless. The man is in custody. That's all that matters.
So what do you make out of this now? This new chapter that is unfolding, EFCC versus Yahya Bello, the White Lion.
If Yahya Bello was paraded as a youth and he conducted himself in office, let me tell you the day I knew that Yahya Bello was not going to end well. I think it was barely 2 years when he was in office, and Yahya Bello built himself a personal residence. I can't remember his town now. A mansion, a castle.
That is the word, not a mansion. That building is a castle.
And the man was there celebrating. And I said, what kind of conduct is this in the public space? You understand? I said, whoa. And it was all over the news. It was on TV. I said, who conducts himself like this in the public space? A personal residence. I came to a conclusion that day that Yahya Bello was not going to end well for conducting himself like that in the public space. And nobody around him, no one could tell him not to embark on that journey.
Who could have told him?
Look, there must be one, no matter what. There will be one or two people around, no matter who they are.
Well, it depends on the type of people you're talking about around them, because we know that most of these people in high places, they are not surrounded by people that really truly mean well. They are most surrounded by sycophants, praise singers.
There will be sycophants.
Ololajulo.
There will.
I mean, all the names.
I've
seen it too.
There will always be one or two people who will tell them. And there are people that they cannot push aside, and there are people that they cannot dismiss or block from having access to them unless they decide to.
Well, it's another thing for you to be told something. It's another thing for you to accept.
Of course, Ololajulo.
You are the governor now, so who are you to be telling me what to do?
Yahya Bello had been on the run. He was hiding in government house. What kind of a life is that?
It became embarrassing at some point.
And that one, I mean, when you remember the circumstances that brought Yahya Bello into office, the man that had won that election, God bless his soul, a former governor, the first governor of that state, civilian governor. He died while the processes were still on. They said the election was inconclusive.
I'm trying to remember
Abubakar Audu.
Abubakar Audu,
They said the election was inconclusive. The controversies of Faleke taking over as deputy governor on the same ticket. Then they said the election was inconclusive. And then they produced this Yahya Bello. And he scored 6,000 votes and he became governor.
I mean, the circumstance that led to his emergence as a governor too was highly controversial.
That did not humble him.
Was highly
you understand?
controversial.
That did not humble him. You know, circumstances should humble people.
You said the 6,000 votes
he scored only
was
6,000
added
votes.
to that of Audu.
Yeah, I will never forget.
Abubakar Audu.
He scored 6,000 votes to become governor. That did not humble him. You understand? That how was this? People will be the executors. But, and these are people that purport to be godly. You understand? And you would think that they will contextualize it and put God somewhere at the center of that, because Nigerians, as they say, we are religious, we are not godly. Even if you are religious, for God's sake, there is a God in the center of that religion, Abi. So he didn't contextualize it, whether spiritually or whatever. And he went about doing all of that. And to now the icing on the cake, he went into hiding, was running around.
When we had an ex-governor, Ayodele Fayose,
that printed a T-shirt, packed his bag, and went to confront the EFCC.
The day after he left office.
A
day after he left office. With his branded T-shirt.
This one was hiding inside.
EFCC, here I come. I'm here.
It's very shameful. It's very shameful. Very shameful.
I think public office holders must take a cue from that. And
that even name they call them, public office. You are holding office of the public, for the public. Okay, you are like a curator holding office in trust. But I don't think they understand that. I doubt it.
Okay.
Our individual sovereignties. We go to the polls and say we submit our sovereignty individually and collectively to you.
Okay, and an update, breaking news coming in now. Yaya Bello is already in court. I mean, you can see him.
Yeah, it's after 9.
Yeah, I'm even looking at the video at the moment now. It's been sent to by one of our listeners. He's in court now, and there's a comment on that saying that last, now 500 million naira bill with two sureties go end the matter. Nigeria, a country where judiciary defends the criminals. Well, that's a comment coming from my
You will spend some days certainly in Kuje. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, they could have perfected everything.
No, they could grant. They can grant him bail today. It could be granted bail, just like one of our.
They will have to start arguing for the bill, not today certainly.
Not today certainly. Okay, they'll start.
Look, that will look quite ridiculous.
So ridiculous.
I mean, that's not nice.
Well, comrade, it's a nice time for us nice spot for us to call it a day today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
for being
Always.
I would have loved to talk about what Baba said, though. Baba said something.
Quickly, let's say we have 2 minutes.
I'm trying to look at the story now.
Baba said some people
About
want him
Obasanjo, okay, some people want me to die, says Obasanjo. Let me read
dead. He was
it.
in Oshobo yesterday.
Yeah, former President Olusegun Obasanjo yesterday said that some people want him to die. Obasanjo made this known during the commissioning of Old Garage Okefia Lameko Road by Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke. The former president, who dispelled the death speculation, wondered why anyone would want him dead, saying that anyone who thinks ill of him would not escape tragedy. I mean, the vintage Olusegun Eboro himself.
I mean, no one should claim the power of life and death over anybody. God, as we believe and know it, is the giver of life.
And why would anybody even want Baba there? He's one of our national treasures.
Well, I'm not.
If I can put it that way, he's one of our national, if not even African treasure.
Yeah, it's a global. Baba
It's
is
a global treasure.
fan.
Let me put it that global treasure.
So, and God has given him, a good life in terms of sound health of body and mind at that age, and he continues to serve in whatever way he deems fit. He's at Oshobo there, and I mean that's a tough
And being
one.
invited to submit globally till date.
And it's not easy at that age.
And it still maintains a sense of humor at
Somebody
different
was
stages.
telling me yesterday night that he was with him the day before, and he's still working hard.
All right. Comrade, thank you very much for being a part of the program today.
My pleasure always.
We're back again tomorrow morning for a fresh edition of From the Dailies on Solutions 93.9 FM. My name is Aditamola Lafenwa, wishing every one of us a very fruitful day. Good morning once again.
Rise, oh fallen fighters, rise and take your stance again. Is he who fight and run away? Live to fight another day. Put the heathen back there on the wall. Put the heathen back here on the wall. Put the heathen back there on the wall. Put the heathen back here on the wall. As a man, so shall he reap. And I know that talk is cheap. But the hotter the battle, and the sweeter the victory. Put the heathen back there on the wall. Put the heathen back here 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 on the wall. on the wall. Eden back here on the wall. Rise, oh fallen fighter, rise and take your stance again. See you fight and run away, if the fight another day. Eden back there on the wall. Eden back here on the wall. Eden back here on the wall. Eden back here on the wall.
All about information, education, and entertainment.
Maybe that's before now. Solutions 93.9 FM has raised the standard of radio broadcast to preferring solutions in all human angle.